Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the podcast. This week, I wanted to invite the guys from Filmmaker. They also run a podcast that is out every Wednesday about 10 o'clock UK time, also on their Facebook page that we tagged in this post if you're on Facebook, and also linked in the video description if you're on YouTube. So I hope you guys enjoy this interview. It was I think a lot of value actually came out of this interview. I really enjoyed doing this one as well. So thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel or the page, then make sure to leave it with a like. And I'd love to hear what you think in the comment section down below. And yeah, I'll see you very, very soon. And I'll let Bobby and Marcus introduce themselves a little bit more.
I'm Bobby Glenn James, serial entrepreneur, business owner, business consultant. You name it, I've done it in the business world. I've made lots of money. I've lost lots of money. I've failed. I've succeeded. And I've hooked up with this crazy filmmaker guy, Marcus, to assist filmmakers in understanding the business side of filmmaking. And that's kind of me.
Yeah. And my name is Marcus C. I'm a filmmaker and I own a video production company with about 9 employees. I mentor filmmakers around the world. Along with Bobby here. And yeah, I have an online course that we're getting ready to launch. COVID put a little pressure on that and we backed up a little bit, but we have a filmmaker business boot camp. I've been doing filmmaking for right around 2.5 years and had zero experience prior to this. So first gig I ever did was January 2018 and here I am.
No, that's interesting. It's good to hear. I mean, I mainly wanted to invite you guys on because I think you can give, as I was saying, Marcus, before we started, but a very interesting perspective from a COVID standpoint, and also just a kind of interesting standpoint from what you do with your podcast as well, from the shows I've seen anyway. So could you kind of sort of introduce the podcast a little bit and then explain what you kind of want to achieve with the podcast and what you kind of want to do with the podcast and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. So Failing Filmmaker is designed as a platform to help struggling and new filmmakers master the business side of filmmaking. You can be creative, but that doesn't help you talk to clients, bid jobs, and do all that stuff that really contributes to actually generating revenue and having an income. And so the goal with this podcast is to have it be a mentoring platform as well as an educational platform. So filmmakers of all skill levels can actually come and learn about how other people have overcome failure as far as filmmaking and learn how they can make their business a little bit better.
Yeah, I love that. There's a lot of stuff out there on how to do things. And filmmaking is there's a lot of stuff you can get course after course of how to be a filmmaker and how to do that. And I look at like a beautician, they teach them classes and courses and teach them how to cut hair, but nobody teaches them how to run a business. And the same thing is with filmmakers. You may be the greatest filmmaker on the planet, but if you don't understand the ins and outs of running the business of filmmaking, you could fail, no matter how good you are. And so we're filling a niche, I think, that hasn't really got enough people out there explaining this is what you need to do to be successful, not just make a good video or do a good product.
And we're really shaking it up because the traditional way that filmmakers have been trying to get business is what everybody's doing, whether it's doing free gigs, whether it's offering the same services and the same products. And everybody's heard it. And so it created a really competitive, oversaturated market. We have a new take on things that are very, very successful. And we just look at things a little bit differently. So it's not hard to be good at the business side if you just change the way you're doing it.
How do you get above the noise? There is a lot of noise in the world and it floods.
No, definitely. I mean, personally, I found that as well. Starting out from a couple of years back. Personally, there was a lot of people who can talk the talk but can't necessarily execute on a lot of what they say as well. I don't know whether you guys have found that as well, but personally, I have as well. So, how long have you been running the podcast? Roughly
March, February. a couple. I mean, just a couple months.
Really. Yeah, it hasn't been very long. We're what are we, 15 episodes in?
Yeah, we're I don't know, we're between 15, 20 episodes.
Yeah, we have a producer that actually does that stuff now. So
Yeah, because
We
we're
don't pay
high
attention.
class.
We don't pay attention.
Yeah, in this all started with that filmmaker business bootcamp that I was talking about. That online course, we wanted to have a little bit of a free mentoring type of platform, and so these strategies and the structure that we talk about is stuff that's actually being used by me and my video production company. It's being used by other filmmakers. We don't just throw out random strategies and ideas and say, hey, go try this. The things that we tell people to do are things that we do ourselves.
And Marcus came to me. I've been doing podcasting for over 3 years. I've got a show that I've been doing 3 years, the Biz for Good show, and I love podcasting and I love the branding of it. How you get yourself out there. Just podcasting is this very cool multimedia thing that gives you an opportunity to really connect with your potential audience. It's one thing to see in social media a really quick blurb about my stuff and try and get somebody's attention. But when I got you for 30 minutes or 40 minutes and we get to talk, I have people come up to me all the time. Bobby, I listened to the Biz for Good show. I want to do business with you because I know who you are. And so when Marcus, we were talking and we're like, you know what? And he knows that we've had him on the Biz for Good show and stuff. And we decided, you know what? Let's start branding Marcus's stuff and his vision, his idea. And I was really impressed with what he's done as a business owner in the last 2 years. Was very impressive. I've been through a lot of them and I've failed a lot. And Marcus really understands process and procedure and how to make things flow and work. And I said, yeah, we need to get it out there. We need people to hear this.
But I have failed numerous times. I didn't just wake up one day.
The other thing about Marcus is he is really in it to assist people. And that for me is a big deal. He talks a lot. He's a tough, he talks like he's this tough guy that has no heart, but he does. He has a huge heart and he's constantly assisting people and calling people, other filmmakers. I'm just completely blown away with how much he does for other filmmakers when other people are like, dude, these are competition and stuff. And he's just really, for whatever reason, loves. I know you said before why you do it, but why do you help so many people so often?
So I'm a diagnosed and clinical sociopath, which means that I lack a lot of empathy and stuff like that. But also I'm very narcissistic. And so it feeds my ego to know that I'm helping other people be successful. I don't need to have myself be successful, but by helping other people, it really makes me feel good. And you know what? I'm in a point in my life where everything's good. I don't need to worry about somebody taking my business from me. And so I'll help other people.
There you go.
But I'm still a badass.
I mean, that's glad to hear, because I mean, definitely that's the perspective I've had from the work I've done. From a longer term perspective, is I think that filmmakers overall can help each other, push each other up, and it's not even necessarily a situation where, oh, you'll take business from me or I'll take business from you, because I think if we help educate the overall business community on why video is important or why filmmakers are important to have from a marketing standpoint, then everyone will get more work. Have you found that since you've started helping more filmmakers, it's allowed you to scale your business like larger and
No,
faster?
helping filmmakers has no impact on my business growing or not growing. My video production company is a standalone thing by itself. It we employ filmmakers and we coach our employees, but the mentoring program has not increased my business at all.
And for me, I love it. To me, I look at it as a give back for me. I've been very blessed to have had the successes in my life that I've had. And if you're not giving back, if you're not, using what you've learned to assist others, I mean, what's the point then? So for me, it's a give back. I just love doing it.
No, definitely. And I think that's really important. And a lot of people, I think, in some respects, also don't necessarily see the value in giving back as well. They would rather be like, oh, I have all these quote unquote secrets.
That's unfortunate,
or whatever.
because so many of those people will never be successful. I truly believe that being good and doing good is one of the greatest business models of all time. If you focus on how much good you can do, you'll have more clients. You'll have clients that'll stay with you longer. You'll have happier employees. Everything about focusing on the good you can do for people will assist you in being more successful. And the more you try and hide and make yourself better than everybody else, as far as, by keeping things from them, it will drag you down. I've seen it so many times in the business world. You can make lots of money by being greedy and being, uh, uh, what's the word? Not
Self-centered.
dishonest. Yeah, self-centered, even dishonest. You can make lots of
Shiesty.
money, but you can't keep something. You can't keep it going unless you focus in a different way. You get passionate about what you're doing, not about how much money you can make off of people. Anyway, sorry, getting on my soapbox.
No, I mean, that's interesting to hear, and it's good to hear from someone who's obviously been around business a lot longer than I have. So it's nice to hear that I think having a good heart is definitely important to grow, and continue to be, have a good reputation
In this
really
day
grow
and
your business
age,
in that respect.
we are so in tune with bull crap. We can see bull crap from a mile away. I mean, with so much bombarded social and everything else, we can see through it. And I tell people, if you want to get above the noise, just be real, be you, and you'll already be one step ahead of everybody else trying to be the cool thing.
And that's the one main point with all the strategies and stuff we teach with Failing Filmmaker is there's no room for emotion in them. This is what it is. This is how it works. This is the process. This is what the client's going to get. This is what you're going to get. There's no really wiggle room there. And so it makes you stand out because you're speaking more matter-of-factly than emotionally.
Yeah, no, definitely. Moving briefly into how either directly you guys have been dealing with lockdown and COVID. I know you've talked on full-time a Failing Filmmaker, sorry, about that Marcus is very, very busy. Could you briefly kind of expand on, how busy are you in comparison to what you were doing, and how you've kind of pivoted or transitioned your business in with the climate to
Sure. I think
continue to be
the
busy?
main thing is that we had a business strategy and we had business goals and a system already set up prior to COVID. I think that's huge. With COVID changing things and having all the processes already set up, it was easy for us to change little things and tweak them in order to accommodate the environment instead of having to change our business to accommodate the environment. So wedding videographers, for example, that only focus on weddings, now they got to change their whole business model to approach different industries. My company, because we work in so many different areas, we work in e-commerce, commercial, corporate, events, weddings, real estate, all that. If we lost a little bit on one side, it's actually been made up on the other side. So e-commerce has been going crazy lately. Educational content has been going crazy. And then on top of that, we've invested in technology that not a lot of people found a need for, and 360 videos, 360 photos, and so our competition wasn't able to keep up with that. So that's really contributed to it. But mostly, I think it's just knowing the direction we want to go, setting up business in advance, and then just following that path. Even if we have to change it a little bit, we're still on the same path.
No, I mean, that's definitely good to hear, because I know that a lot of people are kind of suddenly finding ways to pivot, or having to find ways to pivot, or not in quite a lot of cases. Speaking personally, a lot of my clients are retail or event based. So for me, it's been like this kind of like not an instant brick wall, but it's been kind of like a very long delay. It's like, well, we're not open, so we can't really do much, that kind of thing. So for me, I've been very focused on creating content like this, creating video content, bettering what I can do, planning more long term in respect to business, etc. as well. What kind of I suppose you in some ways wouldn't necessarily have an action plan for coming out of it, because you haven't necessarily stopped, but is there any like tips and tricks or things, or overall advice? Because I know there'll be a lot of people who will be in this rut and will be kind of, I don't know what to do. I'm in this situation where I don't have work coming in. I just went full time, or I just did that. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Do you have any, either of you have any advice for people who are in this rut and can't
Here's the
necessarily find
thing,
a way to get out
I'm
of
just going to say this. I'm going to be brutally honest. Unfortunately, the entrepreneur spirit is different than somebody that's a creative or that's very strong at what they do. They're a worker bee that it gets excited. Sometimes somebody goes and starts a business, but they don't have that weird ass mindset that an entrepreneur has, that loves stuff like this, loves this kind of challenge of being put in a situation where it's like, oh, dude, what am I going to do? So instead of freaking out, that true entrepreneur spirit says, cool, how it's a game at this point. Okay, how am I going to make these things work? And they get excited about it and jazzed about it instead of, oh no, oh crap, this sucks. It messed up my whole flow. That's a worker bee mentality that had messed up their flow and it's changed things. The entrepreneur says, cool, I get to work my brain and do something new and something creative and something interesting. And you either have that or you don't. It's kind of hard to teach yourself how to be an entrepreneur because it's a mindset. And if you don't have that mindset, I could sit here and tell you tool after tool after tool, and you're not going to have the mindset to do it because you got to be that entrepreneur creative that gets excited about those problems. So that's a hard one.
I think as far as moving forward and getting out of COVID, one of our bragging points for our company is going to be, hey, we survived COVID and we were thriving. So we're at a point where clients can actually look at us and be like, well, they have their stuff figured out and maybe they'll trust us a little more. I would say that any videographer out there that's going and approaching business after COVID, if they're still a videographer or filmmaker, lead with that. Hey, I made it through this coronavirus thing. I'm still here. So, I'm dependable. I'm solid. I can still get the jobs done and really play to that instead of making that a weakness. But we don't really have a get back into action plan because we've just been, like I said, we've been really busy. And if anything, we're just going to keep getting busier.
And I think the cool thing with Marcus's group and his company is he has these silos of what they do, and he has expertises in each thing, and so he can just kind of flick a switch when this is needed a lot. Then hey, we send this team, we send this group to that, and I think to your whatever word I'm looking for, to your success.
You can call me Your Majesty.
Yeah, there you go. Whatever.
Well, but
you've kind of figured that out, how to niche each thing, because niche is important in business. You got to have some niches, and that doesn't mean you can only have one,
right?
And that's kind of a test to you.
I think I would be in a far different situation if I was a solo videographer and I was only focusing on one or two different industries or verticals or niches or whatever. I learned very early on that I'm not as creative as I thought I was. I'm much better on the business side, so I started hiring creatives, and that's what's really helped me as a filmmaker and as a video production owner. I can really pick and choose the projects that I want to be involved in. As a solo videographer, you may not have that luxury, and so just take everything negative that's going on and turn it into a positive and play towards that. Don't be like everybody else that's like, hey, I'm struggling, if you guys want to hire me, that'd be great. I'll do it for a discount rate. Turn it around and say, hey, we're beating COVID, we're beating coronavirus. I'm still here. I'm still going. Like, you can count on me. I think that's the best advice that I could really give for people that are individuals. I can't, unless they go out and hire a bunch of people. I don't really have any better advice.
No, definitely. And I think, for me, it's been, from my perspective at least anyway, it's been a kind of like, right, this is a problem. Okay. And I go back to what Bobby was saying about mindset. It's like, right, okay, what can I do now that's going to benefit me in a year, benefit me in two, etc. Or in 6 months. And what relationships can I build? What conversations can I have? What content can I put out there that still adds value and still brings value in that respect? Whether that's necessarily monetarily or whether that's just advice wise or technique wise or whatever.
Really quick, one of the things that I wish that we would have done it, we just didn't have time, would be to reach out to these online or these retailers, whether they're people selling watches on Etsy or they're just people that are closed, and say, hey, send me some of your product because people aren't going into your store to buy it. Let me shoot some video of it and we'll get that on your website or whatever, and start marketing it that way. And I wish that we would have done that because it doesn't require any contact, but we just didn't have time. But that's just those thinking outside the box types of deals. Retail stores are closed. You still have product in there. You got to move. Nobody's looking at it. Send me one of them. I mean, if I steal it, you're going to lose $30 or whatever it is. But let me film it. Let me send it back to you. Let me get you some video so you can actually get that stuff going and promote it.
I mean, I think you've already talked about this briefly, but what advice would you give? Because I know I'm sort of talking to business owners, and some of them are, I think they would be hesitant on, why is video going to be important to me? Why is content important? Why is social important in that respect? So what kind of I guess advice would you give or say to those business owners who are in some ways on the fence about whether they should be using video?
That's crazy to me.
I would say, do you have a Facebook, and have you ever seen YouTube?
Not only that, look at the statistics. The second most search engine is YouTube. The only one above that is Google, and which is the same thing. But SEO, your SEO, everything is driven bigger and better with video. I mean, that the statistics have shown over and over again, video gets higher than anything else with conversion, with looking, with people seeing it, paying attention to it. Video is everything when it comes to marketing.
And we can go back to one of the Failing Filmmaker episodes, how to approach a first-time client, where our approach is really convince the client needs to convince themselves that they need video. I'm not going to sit there and try to pound into them how important video is. I'm going to try to make video a tool that makes things easier and less redundant. So, for example, on that show that we did, we talked about a cafe owner or a restaurant owner or a deli owner. Go in, ask them, get to know them, have them tell you their story, and then ask them how many times they tell that story to other people, or how many people should hear that story, and solve the problem. It took them 20 minutes to tell me the story about their deli or their cafe and who they are and why they're passionate, why they love the community. And that's 20 minutes out of their day that they either have to take to tell other people, or that's 20 minutes they don't have time to take. And so now I'm going to create a solution by saying, maybe you should do a video that would save you time and still get that message out. It's not so much you need video, but this solves that issue. Does that make sense? So it's a little bit different approach than saying, hey, if you want to be competitive, you need to have videos. It's what everybody's doing. They're searched more, they're seen more, the conversion's higher. My approach is, how can video make things more convenient for you? And I think that's a stronger selling point than what everybody else is telling them.
Do you find a lot of other videographers go in from the marketing perspective of like, this is how it's going to increase your revenue, this is going to how it's going to increase people coming from the door, blah, 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 blah,
that's the noise.
That usual spiel.
That's how everybody is first confronted with it. And that's why Marcus's vision of just getting to know the business owner first and kind of getting connection is 10 times above just spitting the data at them, because everybody is spitting data at them.
But real estate is a great example. Everybody says, hey, I want to do a video for your listing. I want to do a video of your property. I want to do photos of the property. I can do drone. And nobody talks about actually branding the agent. And so when you go to a real estate agent or a realtor and you're like, well, let me be an extension of your reputation. Let me represent you the way you want to be represented, not just in a listing. Oh my gosh.
That's a new thing you just done. What are you talking about?
We're going to be partners. You're going to be part of me. Yeah. Like, that's a huge deal versus, 1,000 people came up to me wanting to shoot my listings. I already got a guy.
Yeah, exactly. So have you found that you and your company does more brand awareness, brand storytelling perspective, even if that's spun from an advertising perspective?
We do a lot of everything. We actually let the clients dictate what type of content they want and what story they want to tell.
And see, this is the interesting thing. They still need all that stuff. This is why this is really interesting. They still need all that stuff. All of the metrics and everything that people throw at them, that is something that they need. But coming at them first from a different angle gets you a higher above their radar, if you will. So when they do business with you, then they'll do all that other stuff too. So all that stuff is important. It's when you talk to the potential client, you're just another number if you're saying the same stuff.
When we reach out to clients, or when we get a new client, by solving their first issue of making something convenient for them to get awareness out, whether it's their story or whatever, that builds trust, and that ultimately turns into everything they need for video, whether it's marketing, social media, interviews,
That's the
anything.
goal.
But we don't approach it that way. Our end goal is just to work with them in general and to solve problems. But if we approach them in a way that makes things more convenient for them, we'll ultimately end up where those other guys are hitting their heads against the wall trying to get to them. So we just take I don't want to say a backdoor approach, but we take a more personalized approach and say, hey, what do you want people to know about you that's taking you time to tell them? And by you telling me, you're getting to know me, I'm getting to know you, we're building a relationship. Now I do a video for you, and pretty soon you're like, hey, you're my video guy. So we don't really approach people in the sense of, hey, we're going to get you more customers, better ROI, more exposure.
Same stuff they've heard 40,000 times.
I don't think we've ever pitched anything that way. I mean, I did when I first started, and then we figured it out.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. I think that from as long as I've started to like really get busy and really develop from my own business perspective, I'm sure you'll see or have seen the same. It's more been about really focusing on those relationships from a long-term perspective, meaning like, what are you going to like, how are you with that person, how are you with that from a person-to-person perspective, not necessarily a supplier and a consumer
sorry about that.
perspective.
We typically actually have 3 touches before we even start talking about the price or getting hired. So I'll actually talk to you 2 or 3 times before I even try to talk to you about hiring us, versus people that try to do the one call close and like, hey, I'm a videographer, I'd like to do some video work for you, this is my rates, it will bring more customers to your business,
I'm the best.
There's
I'm
nobody
better than
me.
anybody else out there. Oh my gosh.
So our approach is a little bit slower. If you need to make ends meet every single month, it's probably not a good approach. But if you can build up a pipeline where you have 3-6 months of business coming down the line, it's a great approach, because we just stay 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, so from the perspective of you are having like a initial conversation with someone, to it then being 3-4 months down the line to you actually do a video project with them, but because you've already done that for say a year, you already have video projects that, like, for example, like tomorrow you're going into a production with someone you actually originally had a conversation with.
That's very common, is we work with people that, and our communication with them is really good. We stay in communication with them. So it's not like, hey, they hired us and then forgot about us. But it's very common occurrence with our company that we work with first-time clients that we scheduled 6 months ago.
And then once they get to know you, and I know you have a few clients like this that sign big contracts for a year, because they've done work with you, they know what to expect from what you're doing, and so these are $50,000-$60,000 a year contracts
from one client.
Yeah, that's cool. But you did that because you created a relationship, and then you knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. I didn't approach them and say, hey, pay me 60 grand up front.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a long game. Business is a long game, guys. If you're hoping that you're going to get out there next month and go full time, it's not going to happen. That's like freaking winning the lottery.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I definitely found that in the respect to like every decision I've made, and others who I know who are in business, not necessarily videographers, but people who are longer term in business, they always make decisions regarding how can this help me in 4 months, 6 months, a year, etc. In that respect, I think that's very important, and I think that a misconception, especially as videographers, is it's quote unquote easy money, because you have, in most cases, higher rates than most other service trades. Have you seen that, or have you heard that?
That our rates are higher than the.
As in, it's a like, oh, you charge, like, for example, I may charge like $500 for a video. Oh, that's really easy money in comparison to doing X amount of hours in McDonald's, or X amount of hours in a
right. Okay, so what we're saying is, I can charge more for my skill set for the same amount of work hours than doing something with a different skill set. Okay. Again, our company's really unique. we let the client really dictate the price. Like we have,
Well, to be fair, you have prices, but they dictate how much of you they're going to use.
Right. So we might put in a bid for $5,000, and the client isn't on the hook for that $5,000. The client actually gets to determine how much of that $5,000 they want to spend, or if they want to spend
this
more.
piece, this piece, this piece, this piece. Do you not want this one? Then we'll chop a little bit off. I love that model because you don't do discounts. Marcus is this big.
He watched that one last week. Yeah.
No discounts, but you give it back to the client to make the choice.
Yeah,
which is cool. I mean, okay, don't have this. Take that checkbox out. The cool thing is, it kind of gets us excited as a potential client, and sometimes we'll check more boxes.
Yeah, our how do I say this? Our upsell percentage is right around 40, 45, 50%. When we get to a $5,000 project and we're coming up on that $5,000, they might have had such a good experience so far that they actually want to add more things. And now it turned into a $7,000 bid. And so as far as easy money, I think that's a huge misconception. It's, videographers, you can find them for $100 or $10,000. Your skill set has a lot to do with that, but also I think just the value you bring is more important than what you're charging.
Would you say that there's a necessary correlation between, oh, this person's really, really good at video and they're amazing at what they do, so they can charge 10K, but say, for example, someone provides a better service, but their video might be not as good, but they can also charge 10K for different reasons? Would you know what I mean? Like I think, because some people have said to me, "Oh, I'm amazing at video, so I can suddenly charge this like humongous price for whatever."
I think
reason.
correlation would probably be kind of a bad word. Those are two separate things. You can get paid for your skill set, where people actually depend on you to be the creative and come up with everything, or you can get paid for the experience. Like, for example, we shoot the majority of our stuff on Canon 80Ds. So, they're $1,000 bodies. They're really kind of low end cameras, and we shoot these $60,000-$70,000 contracts on them because the process and the value and the quality of the experience is above and beyond what they would get with a guy that has a 4K, 6K, 8K camera. So making sure that the client feels like they're not only in control of everything, so they can say when they want it and when they don't want it. That's huge, but also just being in contact with them to let them know that you're not just going to walk away. I think that means more in a relationship than, hey, your skill set is really good, because I won't work with the best guy if he's a crappy customer service guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Customer service is everything, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I think that's because I've had people ask me, how have you been able to be successful in this and that? Because I may be in comparison to others, less experienced in filmmaking, but I've always put the customer or the client at the center of what I do, in the respect to making sure the service and the entire process, from them reaching out or me reaching out to them, is important, in the respect to, from everything from like what we're going to do, why we're going to do it, how we're going to do it, what is their expectations in that respect. Do you see a future in the respect to, from a long-term perspective, of more videographers sort of focusing on service instead of focusing on, wow, look at this amazing video I can make?
Listen to me or not. Because
I think if there is a magic sauce, that is the magic sauce. How you treat the client and how involved the client is. Marcus said something really important, that the client, all of his clients, and I know his workflow. I've seen his workflow. We've went through it together. I've implemented his workflow in some of my other companies because it was so impressive. And it gets the client to be in the captain's chair, for lack of a better
and
example.
Accountable.
Yeah, and accountable. So they are taken along through the whole process, which is so cool for the client. They are involved. At the end, it's almost impossible at the end for the client to not be happy with the product, because they were involved the whole time.
Yeah.
Guys, if there is anything you can take out of that, that is ultimate customer service, to have the client actually have a say in what's going on and making a great product.
And the other thing is, just be honest with people. I mean, we've botched some pretty big shoots in the past and delivered really, really poor quality or really bad experiences. But by being honest with the customers, we've never lost a client that way. We've screwed up shoots, we've had, terrible things happen, and we've still retained those clients because we were honest with them. Hey, maybe that was a one-time thing, it will never happen again. We did this to fix that. We put the wrong people on the project, whatever it was. But just being honest and vulnerable, I think it creates a connection with them. They're like, oh, you're a real person. You're not just here to get my money.
Well, you also are accountable about it. And I know you've told me that you've reshot a $5,000 shoot.
Yeah, we ate
You
5,000 bucks once.
ate the money because it wasn't what the client wanted.
Yeah.
That's being accountable. That's the other piece that is huge for if a client sees that you're accountable, man, you could screw way up and fix that, and they'll be more enticed to use you even more.
Right. And going back to the original question is, are more filmmakers going to become more service oriented? I think they need to be if they're not. I think that they need to have processes in place to maintain communication with the client both during a project and outside of that project. Our system, like our entire company, is automated. We have automated text messages, emails, phone calls. Everything is automated to ensure that we have that highest level of personalized experience, even if it's not a one-on-one conversation.
Which is interesting you say that. He said automated, and then this experience. How can you be automated and have this close experience? I know because I've seen you go, oh, hey, we just got this text, and you call this potential client and say, hey, I just saw you did this. Did you mean to do that? And the client was like, oh my gosh. And you talk to me later.
You were here for that one.
Yeah. And you talk to me later. You're like, oh yeah, they spent $5,000 because I caught them doing something they didn't want, and I fixed it for them because of the automation. You were able to jump in the middle of that,
right,
and create this great relationship with this client.
Yeah. And so everything's automated, but everything comes across somebody's desk here. Like every text message that comes in, or every form, or every order, somebody has the opportunity to review it. Whether they do review it or not is kind of really up to the individual that's overseeing those types of projects. But this is a good example of Bobby saying, I had one come across my desk and I was like, new client, this is a really big bid. Yeah, I don't know if they meant to agree to this. And so I called them up and they said, no, I couldn't figure out how to undo that. And they were really super happy because we had caught that, right? The other side of that is we know enough about our clients and we collect enough information from them that we can personalize our automations with little things like a realtor would with birthdays and things like that. But we also know what types of projects we've done for them, what industry they're in. And so we can really tailor things so they feel like it's a really personalized communication.
This stuff is work. Customer service is work. It takes work to do it. And some people just aren't committed enough to do the work.
Yeah, it's one of those, you look at how much time is it going to take you on the front end now versus how much time will it save you later? Because getting all this stuff set up took months, but now that it's set up, it runs itself. And a lot of people won't take those months to set that stuff up. And so they're just continually sending out emails and text messages. And as they get busier, their client experience goes down, whereas ours stays pretty solid all the way across the board.
Would you say that's something which, from your perspective, because you sort of run like an umbrella corporation that then has subsections that you talked about in different industries, would you say that's something that solo filmmakers could sort of in some ways do in the same way, but without it? Because for me, like, I'm glad Bobby asked that question, because my next question was going to be, how could it be automated but also personal? Because for me, like, I think that the main reason why I personally had the local assistants I've had is because if I have an email conversation with a client and then they ring me up, they know they're still going to talk to me, right? I'm still going to be answering the email. I'm still going to be having the conversation. If we have a meeting, it's still with me. When it comes to shooting, it's still with me. When it comes to editing, it's still with me. You know what I mean? So in that respect, I think there's a difficult, like, I guess the question I want to ask is, how can someone like myself, because I'll probably look to do this in the next couple of years, transition from it being very personal orientated to scaling up to the point where
right.
I
think it's still personable.
I may bring on
personal
other people.
If I call, and I don't necessarily care, coming from a potential business, I don't necessarily care if I'm only talking to the owner, as long as I'm talking to somebody that can fix my problem or do what I needed to done. That to me is personal.
And
If I can call and I get a person that fixes or knows what I'm talking about, I hate it if I call somebody and they don't, oh, let me check on this or something. Man, that pisses me off. I've got to talk to the boss. Well, then why in the hell aren't I talking to him?
and very, 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 very few people know that I own the company. And that's by design. Number one, it allows me to have a scapegoat and say, you know what, I'd have to get approval from my boss. He probably wouldn't like that. And then they're like, oh well, I can't talk to you. You can't make a decision. So there's a lot of people that don't know I own the company. As far as being an individual with the automation and setting that stuff up, absolutely. I've helped other filmmakers that are individuals set up the same types of processes, and it works just as well. And then as far as making an automated thing personal, for example, we'll send out, we haven't done an email campaign in a while, but we used to send out email campaigns that would say, hey, Bobby, I noticed that your company, IT Solutions, just did a 5K marathon and donated $50,000 to this charity. That's really awesome. And then I went to your website. Do you only focus in large scale or corporate or enterprise IT solutions? And I'll ask them a question, right? So that's one email. I'll take that exact same email and fill in information with, hey, Marcus, I noticed that you run a landscape company and you just opened up 3 new locations. That's fantastic. I took a look at your website. I noticed that your primary service is, pavers or rocks or whatever it is. Do you do anything else other than that? And so by knowing these little pieces about the potential clients and our existing clients, we can actually have a template email that just throws in different variables, and it's a personalized email tailored specifically to them. That's actually a template. And so automated template, different variables, everything's personalized. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It took them a while to set that up, but that's how it works. I mean, everybody gets the same email, but it's completely different.
Something that jumps to mind for me is there's obviously a lot of research and back end that goes into finding out what Bobby does in his IT company and what Marcus does in his landscaping company, right? Is that something which you personally or a member of your team does from a perspective as in sits at a computer, does the research, punches it in, and then it puts it out into an email? Or is that a kind of more automated system in the respect to, okay, Marcus has a website that we know because we know it exists, and then we can use a computer to sort of fill in
back in the day,
the answers we need?
Back in the day, what we'd do is we would go on Facebook and we'd look at business pages. And then we would fill out that information into a form.
So you would have a physical person doing that, which I think you would have to.
Well, yeah, because we want to make sure that it's going to be worth our time to reach out to them. You know, we don't want to reach out to somebody that maybe, they have a carpet cleaning business, but it hasn't been active in 5 years or they haven't been posting or anything like that, right? So what we'd end up doing is we would go to Facebook pages. We'd have a form that we would fill out for our company, and it'd put everything into like an Excel document or a spreadsheet. We could upload that to MailChimp because we knew what columns they were, and MailChimp would just take all that and blast it out. So we would spend a couple hours maybe with.
So you'd fill out your little spreadsheet that would then connect it to MailChimp.
Yeah, we'd fill out a little form.
Is that totally answers your question now?
And I think for me it was interesting to hear that from that perspective, because I personally haven't done email marketing specifically. It's something that I've been looking at and thinking, should I use it, how I should use it, etc. So from my perspective, it's interesting to hear, and that's why I wanted to sort of see where the personal and the people aspects of that information come from. In the perspective, because I would imagine it would be very difficult to have a computer system that just sort of
that to me would be very cool, because I get all the time, hey, I see your company's very interesting. I would love to get to know, and they don't say anything except that, wow, your website looks really awesome.
Yeah.
Can I help you with some stuff? That's so lame. I delete those so stinking fast. But if it said, hey, Bobby, your IT company is cool, and I see that you're doing, and it's something that I'm actually only doing.
We're going to look at your last Facebook posts, and we're going to find something that's relatable.
Dude,
and we're going to say, hey, this is my in to you, because now you know that I'm invested in your company. Well, I'm really not, but you think I'm invested in your company, and you're going to respond because I am giving you praise. I'm building up your ego. You're going to respond, hey, thank you so much. My company also does these things. Boom, I'm in. We're in a conversation.
Yeah, well, and it's a specific to me that it is. I could see would not be a form email.
Even though it is.
even though it is, but it still isn't, because you did have to touch it a little bit.
Yeah. So
with the spreadsheet.
I mean, so imagine you have your computer screen split into two sides, right? On the right side, we'd have a form that maybe it's a MailChimp form, maybe it's one of our forms that we build with our other programs. And then on the left side, we'd have Facebook open, and you just go, you say, I'm going to reach out to landscaping companies this week or whatever. And you start looking up landscaping companies in the area, and you start looking at their Facebook pages. You can find most of their information on there. You start typing it in the form. And then once you get done with that form, you export it as a CSV, throw it into MailChimp, blast it out. Everything's personalized. And I've spent maybe 2 minutes a lead. Like, it's super quick on Facebook. A lot of that information, emails, phone numbers, all that stuff is readily available. And so, that's how we do that. We have used scrapers in the past for realtors and things like that, where you can just go to a brokerage website and just pull off all their information, and then you can email multiple realtors. But we prefer the more personalized stuff.
Takes a little bit longer,
but it
has more room,
more love.
Yeah, I think that personal, building off what Bobby was talking about, I think that personal connection will really be the difference between, for example, someone hiring me and someone hiring me someone else. Going back to what we were talking about earlier about, this is why video is amazing, and these are all the amazing stats and statistics and facts that people use. But for me personally, I think that it's more about, again, sort of giving them a solution to a problem that they didn't necessarily know they had in some ways, but also having that more personal, tailored,
who am I going to do business with? The guy that goes, here's the metrics, or hey, how's your kids? How's your kids doing? Or is your wife all right? I heard she, that to me is very important.
But you have to have a genuine, you're genuinely concerned about how's your kids. Hey, how's your kids? You want to hire me, right?
Yeah, no, it has to be genuine.
I think the biggest takeaway would be, if you can find a way to save a business owner time, that's going to sell all day long. If you can figure out a way, because that's the one thing that, as a business owner myself, I know Bobby, and I joke with my wife, I need 10 work days in a week to get everything done this week that I need. So as a business owner, if you can come to me with a solution that says, I will save you time and create a better experience for, whatever your customers, your clients, whatever it is, that's a better selling point than, I can increase your revenue. I'm operating. I have revenue. Like, increasing it is always my goal. You're no different than anybody else. But if you say, I can save you some time, I'll listen. I want to know how I can save some time.
Okay, great. I mean, that's everything I wanted to talk about. Is there anything you guys wanted to mention, wanted to talk about? Feel free to plug anything that's going on in your lives that you specifically.
This has been fun. Thanks for having us on the show, man. This is good stuff. Anytime I'm in front of a mic, I'm excited, because it's just fun to shoot the bull with good people, good questions.
And everybody needs to check out Failing Filmmaker if they're filmmakers, or even business owners, I think, can learn stuff from Failing Filmmaker. But check us out on Facebook at Failing Filmmaker or
failingfilmmaker.com. Is it failingfilmakerpodcast.com?
No, just failingfilmmaker.com.
It is failingfilmmaker.com. It is. Yes. It's failingfilmmaker.com.
Yep. How many times?
Oh, and find us on channels too.
Oh yeah. But channels isn't launched yet. It's still in beta.
Right.
I was gonna say, when is your live show? Those who don't know.
Oh yeah, every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time in the United States. So I don't know what time is that there. It's like what, 6 o'clock?
Yeah, 6, 7ish.
But we try to do a live show every Wednesday. We answer questions, we teach, do all that fun stuff. Hopefully not waste your time. I mean, you can participate with the comments and all that fun stuff.
Love the comments. Love having people ask their 2 cents. Nobody's stumped us yet.
No, that's because I'm a sales guy. I can answer any question.
Yeah, right.
So that's what I was gonna say. Have you ever had a question which you're like, I don't know how to answer that?
Not yet, but maybe.
No, not
With
on
the
a
two of us,
podcast.
between the two of us, we can usually figure something out.
Yeah, and that's the awesome dynamic we have is, Bobby has
Our
an
mindsets are, we have a way broad
right
section, whatever.
I
I don't know where I'm going.
spectrum.
There you go. Yeah,
But-
we're on the we're both on the spectrum.
But Bobby has an interest in film, but he's started more businesses than I've ever started, and he's failed more businesses than I've ever failed. And I have more of a filmmaking background, and so between the two of us, we can cater to most any type of situation on the business side.
Absolutely.
When it comes to creativity, though, Parker Walbeck's the guy.
And yeah, I think we'll leave it there. But thank you very much, guys, for coming on. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate you taking the time. But yeah, I think there was a lot of value in this episode, and yeah, it was good. It was good. It's good talking to you guys.
You as well.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much, and I will look forward to tuning into the show next week, hopefully.
All right. Well, we'll see you on Wednesday.
See you soon. Thank you guys so much for joining me this week and listening, and I hope you took something from this interview with Bobby and Marcus. If you would like to see more, as I said, from them at the start of this episode, make sure to head over to their live show, and you can check their VODs as well. I think they would really appreciate it. They are really, really fun guys to listen to, and I always try to, even though I may be, moving along in my business journey, I still pick up tips and tricks and always keep learning in that respect. So I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching and getting this far into this video. And if you did enjoy it and you would like to see more, then make sure to be subscribed to the channel. There'll be a new podcast episode out next, same time, same day, but next week. So that's going to be very exciting. We're going to be catching up with an older friend of mine, who some of you who have been following the channel for a while will have actually or will recognize from about a year ago. So that's going to be great fun, and I'll see you then. And I'll see you on Wednesday for a brand new YouTube video as well. But thank you so much for the support on the channel lately, guys, and I really, really appreciate your time and taking this time to listen to the podcast, and I hope you took some value away from it. And I would love to hear any suggestions for who you would like to see on the podcast. Let me know in the comment section down below if you're interested, and I'll see you very, very soon.